Auburn defeated Arkansas on the road by the score of 38-23, an important road victory for the Tigers as they head into their bye week. We can learn a lot from this game about what happened and why it happened from the statistics, offensively, defensively, and special teams. Let's dive into some of those numbers, look at some of the trends, and maybe kind of figure out what can form from this game, but inform the rest of the season for the Tigers. Welcome to the E2C Network, where the Auburn family speaks. Our content here and on our podcast network may tend to be Auburn sports heavy, but if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. Be sure to subscribe if you're new to this channel so you don't miss any content, whether it's an upload or a live stream. Thank you to members of our booster club like Kevin Nelson, who help produce videos like this. I always want to reiterate this, that statistics are an important part of the game, but they're not everything. Still, though, they can inform a lot of our opinions and prognostications about how a game is going to occur, but also in the future as well. So that's why we do these videos and want to dive into some of the trends and numbers and just kind of look overall at what might have happened and what we can take from it going forward. So let's start right off with the offense for this, and I think, this is the highlight of the game. Bo Nix, baby. Bo Nix had arguably one of his best games of his career, specifically because this was done on the road. And that's been the knock on him for the longest time, that he was not able to produce these type of results, or numbers at least, on the road in a very hostile environment. And he's done that twice this year already at LSU and Arkansas, and I would argue had pretty decent showing at Penn State as well. Specifically for him against Arkansas. 21 of 26, 292 yards, 8 yards shy of 300, 11.2 yard average, 2 touchdowns, a QBR of 97.4. Here's the thing, that one interception that he had, we can actually have a pretty evenly divided debate on whose fault that actually was. I think the easiest thing to do, and maybe even the right thing, is to say it was underthrown. However, if you look at it, there's a point that can be made that potentially the wide receiver did not make a double move that they were supposed to make at the very beginning of that, and that's why it was underthrown. It was intended to be a back shoulder throw for the wide receiver to come back and get, and it was miscommunication that we've seen plague the Tigers' offense for some point of this season. Regardless, even with the interception, it's a clearly good showing for Bo Nix, and he's getting praise all around the college football world for his performance. Rushing. Again, not very exciting, albeit a little bit more concentrated in terms of them putting extreme effort into trying to get the run game going. Tank Bigsby gets 18 carries for 68 yards, a 3.8 yard carry average. Now that's not good still, but it's a lot better than it was last week. He does get his touchdown in the game, and you could see that there was a more concerted effort to try to figure out if they could get that going a little bit more. But a lot of that was because, especially what Coach Hudson said, they got the pass game going early. Tank had a long run of 17 yards. Bo Nix was probably the biggest part, again, of the running game with 5 carries for 42 yards and his rushing touchdown. A rather pedestrian game for Jarquez Hunter. Even though he wasn't able to really do anything exciting, it provided integral kind of relief for Tank at times and a different pace back that could be used against the defense. As been the trend the entire year, lots of wide receivers and tight ends got into the mix here. You could argue that Demetrius Robinson had the best overall day just because of his sheer numbers. Only 2 receptions, though, for 81 yards, but he did have that bomb of 71 yards from Bo Nix for his touchdown, and it showcased what we've been expecting of Demetrius Robinson, wanting him to be that deep ball threat who has that pretty good speed and can break away from defenders. You could also make a case that Shed Jackson, although a quiet game, had the best overall game too, with 5 receptions for 61 yards. Jarius Johnson got a pretty good touchdown throw from Bo Nix as well for his only catch on the day. Kobe Hudson, another quiet game, but he did a lot of good things, catching some very crucial third down catches right there at the edge of the boundary. 3 receptions overall, 29 total yards. Landon King got into the mix again at wide receiver. 2 receptions. He did have that one bad drop that was really very crucial at that certain point of the game. 2 catches overall for 23 yards. Luke Deal, 4 catches for 19 yards. John Samuel Shanker and Tyler Fromm both with catches as well. And then, of course, you had a running back option there with Tank getting a catch and Malcolm Johnson getting into the mix as well. Interesting to note from this is that Sean Shiverson was not only utilized running the ball, but not throwing the ball as well. Is that a result of the interception that he had essentially caused last week against Georgia? I don't know. Just found it really interesting that we didn't see him show up in the stat sheet at all. So that's the offensive stats. Let's take a look at defensive things. And I think if you're going to highlight that, you got to start off with that fumble recovery. It was a crucial turning point in the game. Marcus Harris getting the touchdown and the fumble recovery right there in the end zone altogether. Now, there's some debate, and I think Zacoby McClain even said that he was in on the hit and recovering that ball as well, that he kind of gave it to Marcus underneath the pile that they were together fighting for it kind of with each other. Regardless, I'm happy that we just got the touchdown, whoever comes up with it, but that was that was a good thing for a teammate to do if that's actually what happened. Even if Zacoby had the fumble recovery, he still showed up big time in the stat sheet, leading the way again as he should be with 15 total tackles, 9 solo, even got a tackle for loss, 0.5 mark for him on his stat line. Chandler Wooten right behind him with 9 tackles. Bradarius Knighton continues to show up in the stat sheet with 7 tackles. Also Zion Puckett right there with him as well with 7 tackles. You know, there's a lot of guys, honestly, that I could go down this list. Derek Hall had a great game. We already talked about Marcus Harris. Smoke Monday, as soon as he got back into the game from the finishing of his suspension, made a complete and utter impact right away on KJ Jefferson of Arkansas. He got 6 total tackles. Roger McCreary was an island again. Colby Wooden had 2 sacks on the day. And, you know, Iku Leota only had 3 total tackles and 1 tackle for loss. It felt like his pressure made the biggest difference throughout the day for Auburn. J.J. Pegues shows up on the tackle list as well, but I'll also point out that yet again, he was blocking a lot on offense for the Tigers. So a lot of players to point out, whether it's offensively or defensively. It was a very good overall game for the Tigers, even though there were some scary points for it. Very quickly, let's go over some stat lines for the special teams. No kick returns to talk about. Punt returns, 1 for Demetrius Robinson for 8 yards, so nothing really exciting there. Anders Carlson was solid again, making all of his extra points, and his 1 field goal attempt that he had that was 29 yards. It was a chip shot for him at this point, and it was very crucial at that point in the game too. Oscar Chapman continues to be solid in one of his better stat lines for punting with 4 total punts, getting him a 47.8 yard average. Let's talk about that long one of 57 yards. Now, typically when those happen, that's a little help with the roll and stuff like that, but you got to kick it well to the right spot at the right spin on it to get those type of rolls. And obviously have a good coverage team to be able to make sure to pick it up at the right spots or stop it from bouncing back. So a good overall team effort when you look at these stat lines. Lots of big things. Obviously, Bo Nix is the one that sticks out the most here, but there are obviously big defensive performances as well that stick out. So very happy with the Tigers win on the road. I want to know from you, what stuck out to you most from the stats of Auburn versus Arkansas? Let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoy this type of content, please help support it by smashing that like button. And if you want more content, be sure to hit that subscribe button along with that notification bell so you never miss an upload or a live stream. Check out the ways to help support our content in the description, like becoming a channel member or a member of the Booster Club, or both. Thank you for tuning into the E2C Network, where the Auburn family speaks. War Eagle.